All right. Hi, Emma. How you doing?
Hi. I am doing pretty good. I'm so happy that it is sunny outside today. I had to run some errands this morning and I checked the weather and was just like so happy to see that there was sun in the forecast and it felt so nice to just be out and not be freezing my butt off. So that made me really happy this morning.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great day. I just went outside and I was like, whoa, I wish I can take a walk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like spring is coming. That's exciting.
That's really exciting. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so today we'll be looking at well-being and get to know more about how your experience was like when you undertook that how of happiness diagnostic activity. Um, but before that, I just want to know if you've ever had a chance to engage in an activity like this.
Maybe not exactly like this. I do spend a fair amount of time thinking and talking about well-being, and so I have considered a lot of these things, but haven't necessarily done like a formal inventory of how I tend to my well-being. It's been kind of like through unstructured conversations.
Okay, okay. Um, it's really common like that. There are certain things that you do that you might not know if it's contributing to your well-being, but in a way, they actually do. Um,
Mhm.
So with the experience with that activity that we did last week, what how was it like? Can you give me a brief description of how your experience with the process was like?
Sure. So I think that uh, I as I was reading through like the different examples of how you can tend to well-being, I don't think any of them were new
Hmm.
in the sense that like I knew that these were things that, if you do them, they make you feel better. I think it was interesting to reflect on why I might do those things and if it's because I actually enjoy it, if it's because I know it's going to make me feel good, if it's because I will feel bad about myself if I don't do it. I think that was in particular like the motivation that was most interesting to reflect on in just thinking about like if I don't do this, what what am I going to say about myself, because I didn't do it. So like in particular, I think this is probably one that a lot of our peers will share. But like in thinking about physical activity, I know that's something that makes me feel really good when I do it, but I very rarely have the interest in doing it. And so that one definitely had like a much higher score of guilt attached to it. Um, but overall, I think that um, yeah, I think it was good to just consider that there are so many like small things that I can do to make myself feel a little bit better. Some of those things on the list were going to take a little bit more time and be a little bit more involved, um but I know that like kindness and being kind to others is something that makes me feel good, and that's something that I feel like I'm very attuned to, like looking for opportunities where I can be kind if I'm feeling especially down. That is like the first thing that I'll do is like, okay, what's something that I can do for other people because that's going to make me feel a lot better. So that was definitely like that was one of the first things that was on the list, and I was like, okay, I'm already doing that. So at least one of these I'm pretty solid in.
Right. That's really interesting to know. I mean, looking at the things that we need to kind of pay attention to. It's kind of obvious because when you're doing something and we all do things in our daily lives, things that make you happy, you would want to repeat them the next day, and
Yeah.
it makes life so interesting to to get to understand how these things work over time.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
I think that oh, sorry. I was gonna say that, like, realizing that about like being kind to people,
mhm.
like, I think that the two things on that list that really stood out to me were like the difference between why I am kind to people and the different and like why I will choose to participate in physical activity. Like, I know both of those things will make me feel good. Um, And with physical activity, I somehow like get a little bit of a mental hurdle of being like, it's going to be really painful in the moment, and like I'm not going to enjoy it for the entirety of the time I'm doing it. So like it's hard to make myself do those things. But I really wish that I could get to the point where I didn't even have to think about like this might be painful or this might not be enjoyable. I really want to be at the point where like choosing to do something like even just going on a walk and not something that's like strenuous physical activity, but I want to get to the point where that's something as natural to me as like okay, who's a friend that I can text or what's a favor I can do for someone. I want to be at the same level for both of those things because I think that that would just make me feel so much better.
Aside these two activities that really make you happy, I know from the exercise and from the document that you shared with me, helping people, like making sure people feel okay, is something that you really, really want to do almost all the time. Um, can you share with me how that makes you feel? Like, I know you feel happy about it, but um, like helping people.
Yeah, I think the reason that helping people feels good. I mean, we're biologically programmed in some way to want to help others, and so like there's like an actual physiological component to it. But
Mhm.
I think that for me, like kind of the deeper meaning attached to it is I now am like I'm the reason that someone else is happy, and I
Yeah.
can erase some kind of pain or inconvenience from someone else's life, and therefore I'm signaling my care for someone. I am strengthening that relationship. And I guess sort of like in a selfish way, like I become significant to them or I become a more important person to them. And I don't think that's really like the main motivator for it, but I think that that definitely like plays a piece in why that feels good to me is because I feel like I'm doing something worthwhile and something that I feel like makes a difference. I I think especially I don't know, everyone wants to, or not, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people like want to make a difference in the world. And thinking very big picture is like never my strong suit. And I'm never good at like thinking of big ideas, but I know that there are so many teeny tiny little small ways that I can just do something super easy and quick to just make someone feel better. And like, why wouldn't I do that? Because I just, I feel like that's part of humanity is just like being empathetic to other people's experiences and seeing like, how you can change the world or change the day for someone else. So I think it's just knowing that those small moments
Yeah.
do end
That's
up being really significant, especially if someone is having a bad day themselves.
great. Yeah. There are certain things that we might not even get to know of how important they are to people when we do them. But
Right.
the small, small things, the little things that we do to people, um, it just blows their mind, and you might save someone from maybe doing something bad because you talked with the person, because you were able to help the person in a way. When I read in your document and you talking about you but going to buy groceries and those kind of things, I was like, this that's really cool, you know. But looking at those activities, do you think all of these activities are helpful for everyone, or just a few, based on maybe individual specs?
I mean, I think it must come down to your values because I think that for me, I am so driven by that feeling of, making other people feel good. And that's because I've had a lot of people recognize that like they tell me it makes them feel good. I can see that it makes them feel good. And so that has been like reaffirmed as something that is going to be a good use of my time. Whereas like maybe other ways that I've tried to like make myself feel better, like it hasn't been affirmed in the same way or it hasn't had a good result every single time. And so
Yeah.
if someone has grown up being really into like running or going for a walk or doing whatever it is, like they're going to have a much better relationship with that sort of, way of coping with their well-being and maintaining their well-being than for me, who really did not, grow up being very well practiced in that. So I think it really is a little bit of a habit of like how you, of the things that you already know make you feel good and that you have a lot of experience in. Like I feel like I'm good at being nice to people, so I don't even have to like put a lot of energy and time into it. Whereas that might be something that takes a little bit more time and consideration for other people, and they might not necessarily know how can I be kind, how can I take care of other people. So I think it's just something I feel like I'm good at. So probably not the same for everyone. I think if people find a way to be nice, it will make everyone feel nice, barring some extreme circumstances. Um, but yeah, I think it is probably more of an individual thing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Those are really great insights. And uh, so looking at the activity and what the things that really make you happy. Um, what is your plan on implementing um, your well-being activities in your life? Maybe now or maybe at a later date, 5 years to come.
Sure. I think that so one of the things I put on this list, and I'm not sure if it actually had one of the highest scores of effectiveness, but one of the things I put on there was avoiding overthinking, because that is really um, something that gets in the way of my well-being a lot of the time. And I think this came up when we talked about values and strengths as well, but like one of my values is prudence, which is like thinking through things and like collecting all the information and being very careful. So
Hmm.
that's sort of the positive framing of it, but overthinking is definitely like the negative way to frame that, and something that has definitely had a negative impact on my life, and my relationships with other people. So I know that that's an area that I really am trying to tend to, and I've put in a lot of time and energy into that so far, especially like before in the year before grad school. I spent a lot of time just trying to gain more independence and more confidence and like boosting my own self-esteem, and that really helped to ward off my negative thoughts and to stop overthinking. But um, it's been really hard now that I don't have a lot of social stimulation. I find that I have a lot more free time and a lot more space to overthink. So that's been one thing that has been really hard to try to maintain. And I know that probably the things that I should be doing more of are journaling and probably connecting with mental health resources. I was doing that for a while and sort of
Hmm.
stopped for whatever reason. So I know that those are things that will make me feel good, and help me to avoid overthinking.
Great.
Um, yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I'm just thinking. It looks like you've really learned a lot over the past week, and since we started this coaching exercise. But before I let you go, I would like to ask about this. What do you think is one of the biggest outcomes from this exercise of being coached?
Um,
Something new, maybe something that you were not aware of, and now you've had an idea about what it's about.
yeah, I think that really the main thing that I'm trying to take away from this reflection is thinking about balance, because to me that's what well-being means, is just being very balanced in all areas of your life.
Hmm.
And if I look at this idea of overthinking, for example, to me that's like an imbalance of, you know like I said, there's a positive framing where if I'm thinking a lot about things and I'm trying to be careful, then that can be a good thing. But if I'm doing that too much, then that's going to negatively impact me. And I think that actually that's something that can be applied to all of my values, even kindness, which I feel like is something I'm really good at. Um, there might be instances in which I am overextending and I'm offering too much, and there's an imbalance there, and that can make me feel not so good. Like if I'm being kind to people who don't reciprocate that, or if I'm extending kindness in a way that ends up threatening my own ability to get through the day or something like that, or my own resources. So I think that it's just important to be looking at what does it look like when I am balanced, and what are the boundaries that I need to set for that in order to be balanced, and achieve that well-being. So I think that I understand what it looks like, but I don't yet have the skills and tools to achieve that balance every time. So that's something I'll need to keep practicing.
Great. Thank you very much for that. I think balance is very, very important, and I have not thought about that, but you talking about this has really made me think about how it will actually also like reflect in mine as well, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really, a great response. Thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
of course.
I think that will be the end for our coaching session today.
Sounds
Thank.
good to me.
Let's
Yeah, thank you.